Hello and welcome to another Warcraft the audio commentary. This is game 3 for the Fit for Gaming Solo League best of 5 match between DkH.Sub, spawning as the yellow human in the lower left part of the map, versus EnTeee, spawning as the blue undead in the upper right part of the map, and this is Deserted Isles 3.2b. So, interesting map, and let's see, what are we seeing? We're going to see a Death Knight opener. Of course, it's fairly common. An outward farm. Something that's very nice to have as a human player. Of course, you don't really lose much. You don't really lose anything for putting a farm right here. It just gives you a bunch of additional information. And, you know, at worst case is if, you know, the undead comes in here and attacks this farm instead of going for your base early on in the game or something mid-game or something like that, then, you know, it's an early warning system. And that's kind of what it's designed to be. Do you have an Archmage coming out, and once again a forward scout tower going to be turned into the Arcane Tower at some point. Of course, that's also quite nice. There are some footmen around. Again, going to see the scout acolyte coming down here, trying to find out exactly what's going on. And if we look, looks like he has nearly avoided the. There's a farm right there, and he's not actually going to catch sight of that. And there's of course the mercenary camp right there as well. And let's see, Archmage. Ghoul opening. Once again, probably going to see that 5 ghoul tech once more. A lot of experience up for grabs on this map. I feel like I've casted this map before. I like this map. I do. It's one of the maps I like. I'm pretty certain I have. Yeah, I definitely have. I did a little video for it too, I think. Where, yeah, okay, yeah, I definitely have. So I'm not going to worry about that too much. Yeah, so it's a nice map. I like it. That's all I'll really say about it. We do see, of course, the human player over here trying to creep this out. Going to have a coil come in and steal one of those experience creeps. One of those creeps for experience. 32 experience, in fact. And we do have now the Acolyte as well as these 2 skeletons and this Death Knight going for this Archmage, who's actually picked up Sentry Wards as his first item. A nice first item to have. Sentry Wards are, of course, very nice. They last for 300 seconds or 5 minutes. And they're going to be able to, you can just drop those down somewhere, get a huge amount of visibility from them, and they're very, very potent to have. So definitely something that Sub is probably quite happy with for his first item. Probably think it's much better first item than, say, you know, Gauntlets of Strength or something like that. See, he just goes ahead and plants one of those Sentry Wards right here in the space. EnTeee actually heard that, so I'm not sure why he did that. Yeah, he can just buy a dust and kill it. Little odd that he would just do that with the Death Knight right on top of him. They do make a very distinct sound when you place them down, and so if you're around, you can hear it very, very easily. That was a little odd. I'm not gonna lie. But it does, of course, buy him some time. So he does go ahead and pick up level 2 while he crept out something with his army. I'm not. Right here, he crept this out, a little camp. And the Death Knight and these ghouls are going to go ahead and creep out this green camp. Come over here maybe to creep out this orange camp as well. That would be good. Just trying to get some experience. Trying to get level 2 on this Death Knight. That would be well worth it. Going to go ahead and see a Sentry Ward now being placed down over here, right outside of the undead base. Whoops. Buggy camera control there. So you can see what this Sentry Ward sees. This Halls of the Dead, and he does see the crypt right there. So nice amount of vision. Not a perfect amount, but not a bad amount either. Death Knight coming up here, trying to steal some experience, or going to actually kill a footman. Nicely done to kill a footman. These skeletons warriors are now trying to do some damage to the Archmage. Of course, you're not going to kill the Archmage early on in the game such as this, but you can just do some harass to it, and that's really what matters. Of course, if the human player messes up, then you could kill it, but it's fairly unlikely. It's just nice to do the harass to keep the Archmage on its toes. Ooh. Going into tier 2 into the middle of the game, of course, just having a low HP Archmage is definitely a problem, and you know, it could potentially force the human into an earlier shop. Go ahead and see the shops going up now. So that's not going to be much of an issue in this game. Of course, you need to have that shop up so you can get your casters out properly, your spellbreakers, which I think it's the spellbreakers at tier 2 or whatever. Though a lot of times we actually see with this strategy the human player is playing the spellbreakers are actually later on. You know, late tier 2. You know, when he's up to about 70 food, that's when we start seeing the spellbreakers come into the army. So he really probably gonna see rifle caster being the main focus, and then spellbreakers later. We do see these riflemen actually coming out right now, and if we see a bunch of peasants, so he's gonna have a lot of wood. There's a fair amount of wood, you know, 900 gold, 400 wood, and seeing a farm going up right there. And let's see. Over here, this is going to be some more creeping going on. Basically, lots of creeping. Creeping's always good for whoever's creeping. Yeah, so we do have the undead working on tier 3. Started the tech. He's about 20% of the way through that tech right there, getting into tier 3. Throwing down 2 slaughterhouses. Once again, going to see that ghoul army, and probably going to see the mass A-bombs with a couple of destroyers once again. And of course, frenzy ghouls. If you have this many ghouls, you always want to go frenzy, because frenzy's really nice. You can't really deny how good frenzy is. Only problem with frenzy ghouls is that they're ghouls. Ghouls don't have a lot of HP. Only 340 life. I think they very, very low HP for a melee unit. So very, very low HP for a melee unit. But anyway, we're gonna see that the undead just creeping out the bottom of this fountain of health. He doesn't have to worry about this red drake too much. He can just simply toggle. Gonna maybe. There you go. Just going ahead and seeing him switch over the damage from that red drake to a skeleton warrior. That was close. Almost lost a ghoul. Not going to actually lose a ghoul, but not a big deal. He is at a fountain of health, so it does have a lot of HP regeneration coming in there. And it is, of course, percentage-based, which is a problem. For your ghouls, they're very low HP, which means they regenerate life very slowly at this fountain of life right there. Well, I mean, they'll regenerate and they'll heal in the same from 1 HP to full in the same amount of time as a grunt will from 1 HP to full. So you can tell a grunt would obviously be healing much faster. But anyway, over here we do see that this is a level 3 Death Knight trying to do some harassers, a Mountain King out right now, as well as this Archmage. And I think he was trying to kill that Footman. Did go ahead and kill the Footman. I'm not sure if he actually killed it or if it was denied, but either way, gonna go for this Rifleman as well. Gonna get the Rifleman. Nicely done. With that Flitch coming in as well. The Mountain King trying to block the Death Knight right now. Statue just providing a bit of healing for this Death Knight as the Death Knight runs away. And the statue's not really going to have to worry too much because he can't be bolted or anything. I think he can suffer from bash. I'm not sure if that's true. I feel like he can, but I don't know. I really don't know. He might not be able to. So I'm not gonna say he can. So if someone knows, you can put it in the comments. It's always nice. But I don't know. I don't know if I've ever seen one be bashed, but I kind of feel like they can be. I'm not sure if that's because of Dota. I'm not sure what Dota would have to do with that, but I don't know. Dota messes with my head. It does. There's so many differences in Dota, and I've been playing a fair amount of Dota, so not recently though. Actually, I haven't played Dota in a couple weeks, so I guess there's that. There is that actually, yeah. Other news. Really not a lot going on in the game right now. You can just see this Lich trying to kill this red drake at this fountain of health. Going to be forced to run away as the human army comes in here. Or maybe not. There is a bunch of frenzy ghouls right here, so that could potentially take care of this human army pretty easily with this abomination now. There's an orb of corruption on this Death Knight. I'm going to go ahead and see a Nova targeting right in the middle of 4 riflemen. Going to freeze all 4 of those riflemen. 1 rifleman going to go down. Thunderclap hitting 2 ghouls and a abomination. These frenzy ghouls are trying to kill these riflemen. Go ahead and see a switch maybe from targets to this rifleman now. He's made a pit stop to kill a water elemental. Another rifleman going down. The human definitely is not in a good spot in this fight right here. Gonna see a sorceress going down maybe. It's very low on HP. It could just die in 1 hit any time. If anything, just right clicks it, it'll die. We do see the Death Knight now trying to, whoop, nope, that sorcerer's gonna get away. I'm very intrigued by that, but either way, there you have it. The human player definitely losing this fight though. And just definitely losing the fight. I'm not sure why he took this fight, but he definitely didn't stand a chance. And well, we see this Mountain King going down. The Mountain King could potentially die, but probably not. As you can see, the Lich is kind of far away. If the Lich was a little bit closer, the Mountain King would be in serious trouble. There is potentially, not going to see that happen. We do see a surround actually happening on this Archmage. Going to force him to Town Portal. Nice surround. It was very nonchalant type of surround. Just like, just going to surround you real quick. But it was nice. Over here, we do see that Subsonic is going to go ahead and pick up some clarity on both his heroes and use a scroll regeneration and pick up a potion of healing on that Mountain King. Gonna wait maybe for this Town Portal. Can't afford a Town Portal right now. And he is down on food count. If we can look at that, we can see he's at 42 out of 50 food-ish, 50-ish food. 42 out of 66 food, there we go. And the undead player is at 48 out of 50 food, getting that Crypt Lord up as his third hero. We do see an expansion for the human player right here with these 3 arcane towers. One of them is still being built. And the human player, the undead player, just basically just doing a little bit of harass right there. The undead player's army is still way better than the human player's army right now. At equal food counts, at the low food counts, the human army just is quite bad. But it's definitely in the late. It's definitely a late game oriented army. The human player needs to get to the late game, because once you get to late game and you get like to 80 or 90 food, the human player's army is very, very strong. But he does need to get to that point, because right now at 50 food, this is not very strong. There's just not enough units there to provide the amount of I don't know. I feel like my throat's dry right now, but I'm just gonna drink some more water. I'm pretty sure it's the mouthwash I'm using, because I switched to a new mouthwash, Crest Clinical something or another. I was like, this sounds like this should be healthy, and I don't know. I've not felt quite right in the mouth like since I started using it, but I got a small bottle, so I'll go ahead and finish it, and I'll probably go back to like Scope or something. I don't know, just this makes my throat feel like it's dry all the time, and my tongue feels very dry, which is just odd. It's very odd. I'm not a fan. Not a fan at all. But so we can get back into the game wherever we're at. We can see that there is a Crypt Lord now out. The Lich is now hitting level 3, and that Death Knight is at level 4. You can see the Death Knight does have a Potion of Greater Mana, Potion of Greater Mana, Potion of Greater Mana, Potion of Greater Healing, Dust of Appearance. So that's 1 Potion of Greater Mana, 1 Potion of Greater Healing, Belt of Giant Strength plus 6 Strength, 1 charge of Dust Appearance, and a Town Portal. Nothing too much there. We see some damage items on the Lich. Claws of Attack plus 9. That's a nice item. Orb of Corruption and Gloves of Haste. And the Crypt Lord has no items. Crypt Lord level 2. We can see the Mountain King is level 3. He does have a Pendant of Mana, 250 additional mana, Claws of Attack plus 6, as well as a Potion of Healing. The Archmage does have a Illyria's Flute of Accuracy, Town Portal, Gauntlets of Ogre Strength plus 3, and Scroll of Healing. So we can see the human player now trying to go ahead and chase this undead army just around the map a little bit. And who is at the food count advantage? Let's see the human player at 60 out of 72 food, while the undead player is at 48 out of 60. Of course, having an expansion up definitely really helps with the ability to not need to bank, because once you have an expansion, you really just don't have to bank as a human player. If you do bank, of course, and you have an expansion, if you have the ability to have an expansion and bank while your opponent is not banking and does not have an expansion, that's a huge advantage. But of course, in this case, we do see the undead player is actually banking. He does actually have a sacrificial pit. Gonna go ahead and make a shade and put up a final ziggurat that'll give him to 80 food. I say a final one. Final before he breaks his banking, most likely. I'm expecting once this ziggurat finishes, he will probably decide to go ahead and get to 80 food, and then if he can at 80 food go into 100 food, why not? We might see that as well. You go ahead and see the shade is out now at this point, going to allow him to start seeing these invisible units the human player is going to be using on the map. Of course, that's really nice. And one of the cool things about the way the human player plays a lot is keeping this Mountain King invisible as he runs around the map. It's just kind of nifty, because if the undead player finds that army, it won't be as threatening until the Mountain King pops out. We're going to go ahead and see that human player TPing down to this expansion that the undead was attacking. The undead just going to back off, really not going to be trying to do too much. He did go ahead and waste a TP from the human player, and that should pretty much be enough for him. For now, he did also get a tower. You can see another arcane tower on its way up. The problem, of course, for the undead player is that he has not quite finished his banking. Actually going to go ahead and put down another ziggurat, despite not banking. Maybe just going to go ahead and try to break straight to 90 food. That would be a pretty good idea as well, if he does that. You know, the human player at 60 out of 72 food, halfway through his castle tech, actually. And that's not bad. Human player, of course, not a huge army, but 60 food's not a bad army. It's certainly much better than 50. 10 additional food can be up to 5 additional units, for example. So that's a lot of units. And you can see the undead army now coming into the human player's main base. Going to kill an arcane tower, kill some peasants. Probably we can see that the human player is seeping in, and the undead player now going to TP out. Will he go ahead and kill a lot of these peasants? He could kill quite a few of them. I think he only killed 2 though. couple of them low HP. I think he just jumped the gun on that TP. Well, I say that. It wasn't a bad choice to TP when he saw that the human player was TPing in, but the human player TP'd up here, and the undead was over here, and so the undead had more time, and if he had just waited, he could have waited, you know, he could have killed all of these peasants right here, potentially all of these as well, before he needed to TP out. The problem was, of course, that if he had waited, the undead player, if the human player had TP'd right on top of the undead player, then that would have been really bad for the undead player. So it was a good TP. It was just an unfortunate TP in this particular game. If he could have waited, but it was just one of those things where it's in the long run, it's smart to not wait, but sometimes it just happens the way it did this game. And yeah, so that's my attempt to explain that. Or at least what I meant by that. And over here we can see the human player just kind of chilling out at the tavern. I don't think he's going to go for a third hero, but the tavern is in a very central part of the map, so it's not a bad spot to be. We do see there are actually 4 destroyers over here harassing these arcane towers. Gonna go ahead and kill one of those arcane towers. Will he be able to take out this arcane tower as well? A second arcane tower. Looks like it's actually going to kill this arcane tower as well. And indeed, nicely done by these destroyers. The peasants were just kind of AFK there for just a second, and that was long enough for the destroyers to take out that second arcane tower. So definitely really nice. And we do have this shade, of course, in this base. We do see that the abominations are being mass produced now, and some fiends actually now as well. So we do see 2 fiends on the map and a 3rd fiend being produced, 4th fiend being produced now as that 3rd fiend comes out, and that brings the undead army up to 78 out of 90 food with 112 wood and 500 gold. The ghouls are over here. They probably should be moved over here, for example, just some way, some closer to this graveyard. They will, of course, if they were moved right here, break this block. But in this point in the game, I think it doesn't really matter if it's blocked or not. But either way, we're going to see the undead army now coming down here to this side of the base for the human player. We can see that the human player is sleeping over here. The undead player is definitely doing much better in terms of controlling the map control, really, of the game. We can see these destroyers are actually going to be able to take out these peasants now that there's no actual threat in terms of scout towers or in terms of towers. And the undead player just forcing these TPs really nicely done by him. And we can see these peasants are not going to be forced to run away. So the human player is definitely not in a good spot right now, just from what's essentially happening. The way the undead player is definitely controlling the game, and these destroyers could probably take out one of these towers. Maybe we'll be able to take out both of these towers before they run away, because they can take some hits before they have to run. And it looks like they're actually just going to back off a little bit. It looks like the undead is actually moving his army right here and deciding an engagement should happen. And right now we're going to see this engagement going underway. We're going to go ahead and see a bolt on a fiend as well as that coil going off as well. And now you can see that Mountain King getting into position while invisible, coming in here to do a thunderclap. Going to hit 3 of those abominations and a fiend. And you can see these destroyers trying to take out one of these rifles. Again, so many units right here. Will we see a nice impale? We could. And there's a really nice impale. Nicely moved from that crippler, just moving into a good position to get that impale off. And you can see one of these abominations being microed back. Not going to be enough as that abomination does go down. We do see this Mountain King actually using a potion of lesser invulnerability, trying to, but in a terrible spot right now. This Mountain King could die very easily if the undead army switches to try to focus it down. We do see, of course, the rest of the army also in a lot of trouble for this human player. As you can see, once it's balled up like that, one Nova hitting virtually all of those units except for that rifle and that Archmage. So a really nice Nova, and the Archmage is actually, or the Archmage, the human player sub is actually going to call it GG. He really just kind of got outmaneuvered all over the map that game, and it was a nice play, really nice play by EnTeee, and so that was pretty much that. Yeah, so and when it came time to fight, EnTeee had a bigger army, and you know that paid off. Better positioning, better army, and there you have it. So not much else to say about it, but it was an interesting game nonetheless, and that was game 3. So if you missed game 2, you can always click right there, and if you want to see game 4, just click right there, and I'll hopefully see you in game 4, so I'll see you there.